I watched my youth worship leader get banned from our church for speaking the truth, and now the entire band wants me to help them stage a walkout during Sunday service. My hands were shaking as I stood in the back of the sanctuary that Friday night, staring at Pastor Mike while he smiled that practiced fake smile and told us Emma and her mom had decided to pursue other opportunities. The lie landed like a stone in my gut. I glanced sideways at Rachel, the other girl who helped with the PowerPoint slides during youth group. Her jaw was tight, her eyes fixed on the floor. She knew. We both knew. Emma hadn't decided anything. They'd kicked her out. The youth room felt different without her there, like someone had turned down the brightness on everything. Emma had been the heartbeat of our youth band for 3 years, the one who made Sunday mornings feel alive instead of like an obligation. She'd stand up there with her guitar, eyes closed, pouring everything into the music. Kids actually showed up early when Emma was leading worship. Parents told their friends about her. The church loved her. Until 6 days ago, when she'd said 20 seconds of truth between songs and destroyed everything. I'd been there that Sunday morning, sitting in my usual pew with my parents. Emma and the youth band were filling in for the regular worship team, like they did every few weeks. Everything had been normal until Emma paused after the third song, her hand still on her guitar neck, and spoke into the microphone with this quiet intensity that made everyone pay attention. "I feel like God's putting something on my heart to share," she'd said, her voice steady but urgent. "Christian nationalism isn't of God. Forcing people to believe goes against everything Christianity stands for, because God gave us free will. He doesn't want robots. He wants hearts that choose him freely." The sanctuary had gone silent. I'd felt my dad shift beside me. Emma had continued, speaking faster now, like she knew she had limited time. "Too many Christians have forgotten this. There's no narrow path if people are forced to walk it. And Project 2025, this thing being advertised as Christian, it resembles nothing of God, because God has never ever forced anyone to believe in him." Then she'd started the next song, and the moment had passed, or so I'd thought. Pastor Mike had finished his sermon like nothing happened. We'd sung the closing song. People had filed out for coffee and donuts in the fellowship hall, whispering to each other with tight expressions. My parents hadn't said a word about it on the drive home, which had somehow been worse than if they'd been angry. Now Emma was gone, just like that. 3 years of service, of pouring herself into our youth group, of making us feel like church could be real instead of performance, erased because of 20 seconds of honesty. "Hey," the voice came from behind me. I turned to find Marcus, the youth band's drummer, standing with his hands shoved in his pockets. Behind him were the other band members, Caleb on bass, Jordan on keys, and Mia with her violin. They all looked how I felt, angry and helpless and confused. "We need to talk," Marcus said quietly. "All of us. Not here." We ended up in the parking lot, huddled between cars where no one could see us from the youth room windows. Rachel had followed us out, her arms wrapped around herself against the October chill. "Emma texted me Wednesday," Mia said without preamble. "Pastor Mike and the elders called her into a meeting. They told her she was being removed from all church leadership and asked to leave the congregation entirely. They said she was spreading political division and that her message was inappropriate for a worship service." "Political division?" Jordan's voice cracked. "She talked about free will. That's literally in the Bible." "They said she was attacking conservative Christians," Mia continued, "that mentioning Project 2025 by name was bringing secular politics into sacred space. Her mom tried to defend her, said Emma was speaking from conviction, but they shut her down, told them both it would be best if they found another church home." The words hung in the cold air between us. I felt sick. "Her whole family left," Caleb added. "Her dad, her little brother. They're done with this place." "So what do we do?" Rachel asked. Her voice was small but determined. "We can't just let them pretend this didn't happen, that Emma did something wrong." "We're supposed to play again in 2 weeks, Marcus said. He was looking at each of us in turn, measuring reactions. "Sunday morning service, October 20th. Same slot Emma had." "And?" I asked, though I already knew where this was going. "And we don't play. Marcus's expression was set, resolved. We walk out, middle of service. Make them explain to the whole congregation why their youth band is suddenly gone too. My heart started hammering. That's huge. You'd be making a scene in front of everyone. Good, Jordan said flatly. Let them be uncomfortable. Emma spoke truth, and they crucified her for it. Someone needs to show this congregation what really happened. They'll kick you out too, Rachel pointed out. All of you. Is that what you want? Maybe. Mia's voice was quiet but fierce. If staying means pretending this is okay, then maybe leaving is the right thing. They all looked at me then, and I realized with a jolt why they'd pulled me aside specifically. You want me to help, I said slowly. You run the PowerPoint, Marcus said. You control what goes up on the screens. We need you with us. If we're going to do this, it has to be coordinated, Caleb explained. We can't just walk out randomly. It needs to mean something. My mind was racing. My parents were on the church council. My dad had been an elder for 5 years. If I helped stage a walkout during Sunday service, they'd be humiliated, furious. I'd be grounded until college, probably, maybe longer. But Emma's face kept flashing through my mind. The way she'd looked leading worship, so full of joy and purpose. The way she'd spoken into that microphone with her whole heart, believing she was doing the right thing. They'd thrown her away for it. What exactly are you planning? I asked. Marcus glanced at the others, then back to me. We go up like normal, start the first song, then after the first chorus, we stop playing. I'll say something short, explain why Emma's really gone, why we can't keep pretending. Then we put down our instruments and walk out. And you want me to put something on the screens? I asked. We were thinking a quote, something Emma said, or maybe a Bible verse about truth or justice. Something that makes people think. Mia was watching me carefully. But only if you're in. We're not going to pressure you. Except they were. Just by asking, they were. And the terrible thing was, I wanted to say yes. I wanted to do something that mattered, something that showed Emma she hadn't been wrong to speak up. But I was 17. I still lived at home. I still depended on my parents for everything. I need to think about it, I said finally. Fair enough, Marcus nodded. But we need to know soon, like this week. We have to coordinate this thing or it'll fall apart. We dispersed back into the youth building one by one, trying not to look suspicious. My mind was churning the entire drive home with my parents, barely hearing my mom talk about the upcoming fall festival. That night, I lay in bed staring at my ceiling, playing out scenarios. What would happen if I helped them? What would happen if I didn't? I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram, scrolling until I found Emma's profile. She'd posted a story that evening, just a simple image of a sunset with text overlaid. Sometimes faithfulness means losing everything familiar. Trust the process. I screenshot it before the story disappeared. The next morning at breakfast, my dad was reading something on his tablet, frowning. Says here there's some controversy about that Project 2025 document, he muttered. People calling it extreme. What's Project 2025? I asked carefully. He glanced up. Political stuff, not something you need to worry about. But I did worry about it. After breakfast, I locked myself in my room and started researching. What I found made Emma's words make even more sense and made the church's response even more damning. By Monday, I still hadn't decided, but Marcus caught me before school, his expression urgent. Pastor Mike announced yesterday that we're playing this Sunday instead of the 20th, he said. Moved it up. I think someone told him we were planning something. My stomach dropped. This Sunday? That's 5 days away. I know. We need your answer today. He held my gaze. I get that it's scary, but sometimes you have to choose between safe and right. I thought about Emma again, about her standing in front of that microphone, knowing what it might cost her, saying it anyway. Okay, I heard myself say. I'm in. The relief on Marcus's face was immediate. Thank you. Meet at Caleb's house tomorrow after school. We'll plan everything out. The week moved in a strange blur. Tuesday's planning meeting was intense. Everyone contributing ideas, rehearsing what Marcus would say, deciding on the exact moment to stop playing. I designed the PowerPoint slide that would go up when they walked out, a simple black screen with white text. They silenced her for speaking truth. We will not be silent about their silence. Wednesday, Mia got cold feet. My parents will kill me, she said, her voice breaking during our lunch period huddle. Like, actually ground me forever. I won't see my friends. I won't go anywhere. Is it worth it? Emma's worth it, Jordan said quietly. Truth is worth it. Thursday, Pastor Mike stopped me in the hallway at church during youth group setup. How are you doing? He asked with that same fake smile. I know Emma's departure has been hard on some of our young people. I'm fine, I lied. Good, good, he patted my shoulder. Change is difficult, but God always has a plan. And we're excited to hear the band play this Sunday. It'll be a wonderful service. I wanted to scream at him. Instead, I smiled and nodded and walked away before I said something I'd regret. Friday night, I couldn't sleep. I kept rehearsing my part, the exact moment I'd need to switch slides, the timing of everything. If I messed up, if I froze, the whole thing would fall apart. Saturday morning, my mom asked if I was feeling okay. You seem stressed, honey. Just school stuff, I said. She bought it, or pretended to. I couldn't tell anymore what was real and what was performance in this church, in my family, in my life. Saturday night, Marcus sent a group text. Tomorrow we stand for truth. No backing out now. Emma would be proud. I stared at those words for a long time. Sunday morning arrived cold and bright. I got dressed in my usual church clothes, ate breakfast with my parents, drove to the sanctuary like it was any other week, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. The band assembled in the green room backstage. We were all silent, the weight of what we were about to do pressing down on us. Marcus kept checking his phone. Caleb was tapping a nervous rhythm on his thigh. Jordan looked pale. Mia had her eyes closed, lips moving in what might have been prayer. Rachel found me by the tech booth. PowerPoint ready? I nodded, unable to speak. We're doing the right thing, she whispered, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. The sanctuary was filling up. I could see my parents in their usual pew, third row from the front. My dad was talking to another elder. My mom was organizing her Bible and notebook. They had no idea what was coming. Pastor Mike took the stage for announcements. We have a wonderful morning planned, he said warmly. Our youth band is going to lead us in worship, and I have a message about perseverance through trials that I think will really speak to everyone. The irony was suffocating. Let's welcome our young people to the stage, Pastor Mike said, gesturing to the wings. Marcus walked out first, followed by the others. They took their positions. Marcus sat behind his drum kit. Caleb plugged in his bass. Jordan adjusted the keyboard height. Mia rosigned her bow. They looked so young up there under the stage lights, so vulnerable. My cursor hovered over the first PowerPoint slide, ready to project the lyrics. Marcus counted them in. 1, 2, 3, 4. The opening chords of the first song filled the sanctuary. My parents were smiling. The congregation was settling in, ready for a nice, normal Sunday service. They had no idea everything was about to shatter. The song built through the first verse. I advanced the slides mechanically, each lyric appearing on cue. The chorus hit, voices rising. Some people in the congregation were starting to sing along, hands lifting. Then, exactly as planned, Marcus stopped playing. The drums went silent mid-beat. Caleb's bass cut out. Jordan lifted his hands from the keys. Mia lowered her violin. The sudden absence of music was jarring, disorienting. The congregation's singing faltered and died. Confused silence filled the sanctuary. Marcus stood up from behind his drum kit and walked to the front mic stand. The wireless mic was still live. His voice, when he spoke, was clear and steady and filled every corner of the room. We need to tell you all something, he said. Emma didn't leave this church voluntarily. She was banned. They kicked her out because she spoke truth during worship 2 weeks ago, truth about Christian nationalism and Project 2025. She said God doesn't force people to believe, that he gave us free will, and that calling political authoritarianism Christian is wrong. And for that, Pastor Mike and the elders removed her from leadership and told her entire family to find another church. Gasps rippled through the congregation. I could see Pastor Mike starting to rise from his seat on the platform, his face flushing red. "They lied to you," Marcus continued, speaking faster now. "They told you Emma chose to leave, but she didn't choose anything except to speak what she believed God put on her heart, and they punished her for it. We can't stand up here and lead worship while pretending that's okay. We can't participate in this anymore." "Young man, that's enough," Pastor Mike's voice boomed, but Marcus kept going. "If Emma's truth wasn't welcome here, then neither are we. We're done." He set down his drumsticks on the floor. Caleb unplugged his bass and laid it on its stand. Jordan stepped away from the keyboard. Mia placed her violin carefully in its case. This was my moment. My cursor was already hovering over the slide I'd prepared. One click and it would be over. I'd be complicit. I'd face everything that came after. My finger was frozen on the mouse. The band was walking toward the side exit now, moving together. People were starting to shout. My dad was on his feet. Pastor Mike was striding toward the edge of the stage, calling for order. I clicked. The screens changed. The lyrics disappeared, replaced by that black background and white text. "They silenced her for speaking truth. We will not be silent about their silence." The sanctuary erupted. People were yelling, some in support, most in outrage. My mom had turned around, scanning the tech booth area, looking for me. Our eyes met across the crowded room. Her expression wasn't angry. It was something worse. Disappointed. Betrayed. I stood up from the tech booth and walked toward the exit. Rachel was right behind me. "We did it," she breathed. The band was waiting in the parking lot, standing by Marcus's car. When they saw us coming, relief flooded their faces. "You actually did it," Jordan said to me. "I wasn't sure if you would." "Neither was I admitted. We could hear the chaos continuing inside the sanctuary. Raised voices, angry shouts. The normal order of Sunday service had been completely demolished. "What happens now?" Mia asked, hugging herself. "I don't know," Marcus said, "but we told the truth. That has to count for something." My phone was already buzzing in my pocket, my mom calling, then my dad. Then texts started flooding in. I turned the phone off. "My parents are going to lose their minds," I said quietly. "Mine too," Rachel agreed. "All of ours will," Caleb said, but we knew that going in. We stood there in the parking lot, 6 teenagers who'd just blown up their church, and I felt something unexpected. Not regret. Not fear, though that was definitely there too, but something else. Something that felt almost like pride. Emma had spoken truth and been destroyed for it, but she hadn't been alone. We'd shown the church, shown the congregation, shown ourselves that her voice mattered, that truth mattered more than comfort. People started streaming out of the sanctuary. Some were leaving early, clearly upset. Others were gathering in clusters, arguing. I saw elders huddling together near the main doors. "We should probably go," Marcus said, "before they come out here." "Where?" Jordan asked. "My place?" Caleb offered. "My parents are in there, so the house is empty." We piled into cars and left, pulling out of the parking lot just as Pastor Mike emerged from the building, his eyes scanning for us. At Caleb's house, we sat in his living room and just processed what we'd done. The adrenaline was starting to wear off, replaced by the weight of consequences we'd only begun to imagine. "Do you think it mattered?" Mia asked after a long silence. "Like, really mattered? Or did we just make ourselves feel better?" "It mattered to Emma," I said. "It will matter to other people who've been silenced too." My phone, still turned off, sat like a bomb on the coffee table. "You're going to have to face them eventually," Rachel said, following my gaze. "I know." I picked up the phone and turned it back on. Immediately, it exploded with notifications. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, most from my parents, but others too. My aunt, my older brother, random people from church. One text stood out, though, from Emma. "I heard what you all did. Thank you. You have no idea what this means." I showed it to the others. Mia started crying. Marcus looked away, jaw tight. Jordan nodded slowly, like Emma's words had confirmed something. "Worth it," Caleb said firmly. "Whatever comes next, it was worth it." I wasn't sure if I believed that yet, but I wanted to. I replied to Emma, You were right to speak up. Someone had to show them that. Her response came quickly. You're braver than you know, all of you. The front door opened. Caleb's parents were home. We heard his mom's voice, sharp with anger. Caleb Michael Anderson, living room, now. We scattered to our own cars, our own homes, our own reckoning. The drive to my house felt like driving to an execution. My hands were clammy on the wheel. Every stoplight was a moment to turn around, run away, disappear. But I kept going. Both my parents' cars were in the driveway when I pulled up. They'd left church early. For me. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, gathering courage before finally walking inside. They were waiting in the living room. My dad stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. My mom sat on the couch, her face blotchy from crying. Sit down, my dad said. His voice was cold in a way I'd never heard before. I sat. Do you have any idea, he started, then stopped, like he couldn't even find words adequate for his fury. Do you have any concept of what you've done? To this family? To your mother and me? I helped tell the truth, I said quietly. You humiliated us, my mom said, her voice breaking, in front of the entire congregation. People we've known for years, people we serve with. They all watched our daughter participate in that spectacle. Emma was banned for speaking truth, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Pastor Mike lied about why she left. Someone needed to tell people what really happened. That wasn't your place, my dad snapped. You're 17 years old. You don't have the wisdom or maturity to make those kinds of decisions. You embarrassed yourself and us. What Emma said was inappropriate, Mom added. She brought politics into worship. The church was right to address that. She talked about free will, I said, about God not forcing people to believe. That's not political. That's theology. She mentioned Project 2025 by name, my dad said. That's absolutely political, and it was divisive and wrong. Have you actually read what's in Project 2025? I asked, because I did, this week. It calls for mandatory Christian education in public schools, for laws based on biblical interpretation, for restricting rights based on religious doctrine. Emma was right. That's not about choice. That's about force. Enough, my dad said sharply. I don't want to hear your political opinions. You staged a protest in the middle of Sunday service. You disrupted worship. You've possibly damaged my standing with the elders. Do you understand the consequences of your actions? I understand that Emma got thrown away for being honest, I said, and that the church cared more about maintaining comfort than hearing truth. I understand that. My mom was crying again. How could you do this to us? The question hung in the air. How could I? The answer was both simple and impossibly complicated. Because staying silent felt like betraying everything I thought church was supposed to be about, I said finally. Emma stood up there and spoke from conviction, believing she was being faithful, and they destroyed her for it. If I'd just stayed quiet, if I'd helped the church pretend it never happened, what would that make me? It would make you wise, my dad said. It would make you respectful of authority and structure. Instead, you chose rebellion and pride. I chose the people being hurt over the people doing the hurting, I shot back. You're grounded, my dad said flatly. Indefinitely. School and home, that's it. No friends, no activities, no phone except for emergencies. And you will write a formal apology to Pastor Mike and the elders for your behavior. I won't apologize, I said. The words came out before I'd fully decided to say them, but once they were out, I knew they were true. My dad's expression turned to stone. Excuse me? I won't apologize for telling the truth. I won't say I was wrong when I wasn't. Then you can spend a lot more time thinking about your choices, he said coldly. Give me your phone. And your laptop. You're done. I handed them over silently. There was nothing left to say. I spent the next week in isolation. School, then home, then my room. My parents barely spoke to me except to outline rules and restrictions. My mom cried every time she looked at me. My dad's disappointment was palpable, suffocating. But word was spreading about what we'd done. I heard snippets from school, from the few conversations I was allowed to overhear. The church was in chaos. Some families had left in solidarity with Emma. Others were demanding the youth band be formally disciplined. There were emergency elder meetings, congregational forums, heated arguments in the fellowship hall. We'd wanted to make people uncomfortable. We'd succeeded beyond our wildest expectations. On Friday, exactly 1 week after the walkout, my mom knocked on my door. "There's someone here to see you," she said stiffly. I came downstairs to find Emma sitting in our living room. She looked different, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. When she saw me, she stood up. "I asked your parents if I could talk to you," she said. "They agreed to give us 10 minutes. We sat. My parents hovered in the doorway, watching. "I wanted to thank you in person," Emma said. "What you all did, it mattered, more than you know. I've had 12 people reach out to me this week, people from the congregation who said they'd been feeling the same way I did, but were afraid to say anything. Your walkout gave them permission to speak up too." "The church is a mess," I said quietly. "Good." Her smile was fierce. "Sometimes things need to fall apart before they can be rebuilt into something better. You helped start that." "I'm grounded indefinitely," I told her. "I figured. Are you okay?" I thought about it. "I don't know, but I don't regret it." "Good. Hold on to that." Emma glanced at my parents, then back to me. "The band, Rachel, all of you. You stood up when it mattered. That takes real courage. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." My mom cleared her throat. "Time's up." Emma stood. "You have my number. When you get your phone back, whenever that is, text me. I'm starting a Bible study at my house for people who've left the church. You'd be welcome there." After she left, my mom said, "She's the one who led you into this rebellion." "No," I said. "She showed me what conviction looks like. There's a difference." The next Sunday, my parents made me go to church. I sat in that sanctuary and watched Pastor Mike preach about forgiveness and unity while pretending the previous week hadn't happened. The youth band slot was filled by the regular worship team. Everything looked normal on the surface, but it wasn't normal. Half the youth group was missing. Several families I'd known my whole life weren't in their usual pews. During the meet and greet time, people avoided my parents or gave them tight, sympathetic smiles. We'd broken something that couldn't be easily fixed. After the service, an elder's wife approached me while my parents were talking to someone else. "I wanted you to know," she said quietly, "that what you did took guts. My daughter is asking questions now, hard questions about the church and politics and authority, questions I don't have good answers for, but I'm glad she's asking them." She walked away before I could respond. That conversation replayed in my mind all week. Maybe we hadn't just caused chaos. Maybe we'd planted seeds too. 3 weeks after the walkout, my parents sat me down again. "We've been talking to Pastor Mike and the elders," my dad said. "They're willing to meet with you, to hear your side, and hopefully work toward reconciliation." "What does reconciliation look like?" I asked. "You apologize. You acknowledge that your methods were wrong, even if your heart was in a good place. You agree to submit to church authority going forward. And then, eventually, you're restored to fellowship." "And if I don't?" My parents exchanged a glance. "Then we have to consider whether this church is the right fit for our family anymore," my mom said. "Your actions have affected all of us. We can't continue to serve in leadership while our daughter is in open rebellion." The weight of that landed on me hard. My choices hadn't just impacted me. They'd rippled out, touching my whole family, forcing them to make impossible decisions too. "I need to think about it," I said. That night, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I prayed, really prayed, not just reciting familiar words. I asked God if I'd done the right thing, if the chaos and pain had been worth it, if truth really mattered more than peace. I didn't hear an audible answer, but I felt something, a quiet certainty settling into my chest. Not peace exactly, but assurance. I'd chosen the harder right over the easier wrong. Emma had done the same. We'd both paid for it. But we'd also shown a congregation, a community, that truth was worth fighting for. The next morning, I told my parents I wouldn't meet with the elders, not to apologize. Maybe to explain, if they were genuinely willing to listen, but not to recant. My dad's face went through several emotions before settling on resignation. Then we'll be leaving the church, he said. I've already talked to the other elders. I can't serve in leadership when my family is divided like this. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. So am I, he replied. My mom cried again, but this time when she looked at me, I saw something else beneath the disappointment. Something that might have been grudging respect. We left that church, found a new one, smaller, less polished, where questions were welcomed instead of feared. My parents struggled with the transition, grieved the loss of community and position, but slowly, gradually, they started to soften. 6 months later, my dad admitted that maybe I'd been right about some things. Not about the method, he was careful to clarify, but about the substance. Emma had been treated unfairly. The church had prioritized image over integrity. It wasn't a full vindication, but it was something. The other band members and Rachel ended up at different churches too, scattered across the city. But we stayed in touch, meeting up every few weeks to catch up and remember what we'd done together. Emma's Bible study grew. 20 people regularly attended, most of them refugees from churches that had prioritized politics over grace. She was leading worship again, just in living rooms instead of sanctuaries. Last week, she told me that our walkout had inspired youth in 3 other churches to speak up about similar issues. The ripples kept spreading. I'm 18 now, heading to college in the fall. When people ask me about my faith journey, I tell them about the Sunday I helped stage a walkout during church service. Some people are horrified, others nod in understanding. I don't regret it, not anymore. We'd been taught our whole lives that church was about community and truth and standing up for what's right. When the moment came to actually do those things, we'd done them. The cost had been real. The consequences had been painful. But I'd learned something crucial that Sunday morning. Sometimes faithfulness looks like disruption. Sometimes truth requires breaking things that look holy but aren't. Emma was right all along. God gave us free will, the freedom to choose truth, even when it costs us everything comfortable. We'd made our choice, and I'd make it again. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have walked out with us, knowing what it might cost your family and future?